From the quiet elegance of ancient temples to the electrifying rhythm of neon cities. Japan is a land of contrasts, where every moment feels like a new discovery. A place where innovation dances with tradition, and new sensations stimulate your senses at every turn. From the bustling streets of Tokyo to the peaceful gardens of Kanazawa. And Godzilla hiding in the corner. Here's what made our 30-day adventure to this island with more than 120 million people an unforgettable one. Plus some things I kept in mind along the way. Cheers, boys! Upon arriving in Tokyo, Japan, Michael, Finn, and I went for our first dinner, wandering the streets at night, and discovered how cheap drinks are at convenience stores. The next day we met our friend Tatiana in Tokyo, and after a marvelous morning in Tokyo, Japan, we took a train to Osaka, and now we're in Okayama. We experienced our first Japanese golden hour and sip of sake as a group, and explored a temple at night, making sure we saw every nook and cranny. Beginning our first full day as a group, we hopped on a train, then a ferry to get to Naoshima, the art island. We rented electric bikes and checked out the art pieces in museums scattered throughout the island. Hopping on the ferry and train again, we headed back to Okayama for our first taste of authentic Japanese ramen and nightlife. Getting breakfast from the kombini, convenience store, was the perfect way to kick off day 4 prior to frolicking through a massive garden and finding some turtles and fishies. Then we made our way to Fukuoka and checked out some unique stores and tried some fantastic food, including whale sashimi. Right after, we got lucky with some popular Japanese entertainment. Hell yeah! And finished off the night with some fireworks and more nightlife. The next morning, we explored our first shrine in the rain and got to watch part of a ceremony. Then took a couple trains to get to Hiroshima. Here, we were introduced to okonomiyaki, a sort of Japanese pancake. I tried to have an open mind on this trip, so when we encountered new things like this, I could take a leap of faith, and in this case, discover one of my favorite dishes of the journey, and finish the night with a walk back in the rain. To start our first full day in Hiroshima, we checked out a surreal samurai castle, then proceeded to the art museum and other historical landmarks. And while this was all new to us, it still seemed to ring a bell. Sunset lit up the streets just before the group grilled some meat for dinner, and finished the night with this? Good morning. It's currently 5 a.m. in Hiroshima, Japan. We're on our way to Hiroshima Castle for sunrise, and it's gonna be a beautiful morning. Another thing I was mindful of during this trip was that by intentionally checking out places in the early golden hour of sunrise, we would see them in their best light and beat the hordes of other tourists. While we may have been a bit tired, the stunning views were worth it, and getting to see some locals going about their mornings was neat. Ohio! Good morning from Hiroshima. It's currently 6:30 a.m. Just finished a sweet sunrise shoot at the Hiroshima Castle, and it just looked so magical. And now we are heading back to the J. Hopper Hostel. The remainder of the day was spent traveling by train to Osaka, eager to see what it might have in store for us. The following day was a packed day trip to the huge Himeji Castle. Once again, making sure to thoroughly explore every corner of the place, and the gorgeous accompanying garden. Next was a day trip to Nara, and oh dear, they were everywhere. They knew they could bow to get food, and they were persistent. Don't get me wrong, they were cute and all, until we ran out of food to appease them, at which point to hike up a hill while battling winds for our dear lives was the only way to escape their bloodthirsty bows. Heading back to Osaka, Finn mentioned we should check out a ramen alley and other streets by the Dotonbori area, and I wasn't sure what to expect. But this place was totemo kakigaru, very lively. From bridges and boats, to giant runners, babies, crabs, and dragons, this place seemed to have it all. Wow! The next day was another beautiful castle and garden, before hopping on a train to Kyoto, where we got our first taste of Japanese curry. Kyoto was where we learned the way of the samurai. Next, we took a stab at exploring as many markets, gardens, temples, and shrines as we could throughout the city. Some neat animals were also encountered along the way. And it wouldn't have been a trip to Kyoto without visiting the Fushimi Inari Shrine with thousands of gates. While the first few minutes of the walk was packed with people, as my friends and I ventured deeper into the shrine, the crowds thinned out, and at times, there was not another person in sight, and we got to snap some sweet shots. Our group also came across some prayer spots and hundreds more gates of all sizes, then continued and checked out the bamboo forest, a monkey park, and the Golden Temple. Finally, finished off the day with some oishii ramen and intense dance battles. Heading to some more temples and shrines the following day, the pals and I made sure to also capture some photos of the famous Yasaka Pagoda. After seeing some gorgeous architecture, we finished off the day in Kanazawa. The Kanazawa Castle was a wonderful start to the next day. Then a peaceful garden picnic and walk were nice touches. Followed by a sweet end to the day before getting up at 4:30 to shoot different locations during sunrise. Later in the day, we sharpened our samurai skills with throwing stars. Moving from Kanazawa to Nagano, the Zenkoji Temple caught our attention with its unexpected length and marvelous statues. Although I was already tired from waking up for sunrise that day, I was up at 3:45 to get there in time for the morning light, and I was happy I did. I was busy trying to capture all the impressive angles when a security guard approached me speaking frantic Japanese to tell me I was in the middle of a religious ceremony. The symbols on the front of the temples caught me off guard too, but I later learned that it's called the manji and is a symbol of good luck and well-being. Hakone was next on our itinerary, where we crossed some huge bridges with our first views of Mount Fuji, but we wanted more Fuji. So through a combination of trains, buses, walking, sprinting, and bushwhacking, we got to a viewpoint near the top of a hill and were treated to a sensational sunset beside Mount Fuji. After a big day of adventure, we stocked up for a feast at the local Lawson. Currently just before 9 p.m. in Hakone, Japan. We just hit our Lawson's run, I think our second or third of the day. Tatiana, what are we eating?
I got some mochi ice cream. It's really good. And
very cool.
mint chocolate chip Pocky, which is honestly the best Pocky I've ever had.
Wonderful. All right, what do we have here, Finn?
Today I picked up 4 very special items. We're going to start ourselves off right here with the chocolate cream roll. I don't know what's in this or what it's going to taste like, but I know it's going to be good. Second off, and most importantly, the Sapporo Tall Boy. This was $2.50, the best purchase of my entire life. Finally, to round off the main course is the cup noodle. I'll be heating this up in our room later. And as a little amuse-bouche, the chili taco flavored tortilla chips.
Wow.
We're hoping we'll finally find a hot chip.
Hot chip, that's what we're looking for.
So we can lie.
Oh my. Mr. Dodd?
Alright, so I got a vitamin jelly pouch, so I feel like shit. I won't get better. Got Pretz, because they look like Pockies, but they're not. That would be fun. And then classic Oreo bites.
Oreo bites, huge. Alright, so to finish off dinner, we got a nice sausage and curry, hopefully protein-ish thing. Then, to start our dessert, we got our fruit cup, because of course, health as well. Then to start the dessert with our carb section, we have a god of a chocolate roll looking thing. Then to continue the dessert with a bit of a colder option, we have a Haagen-Dazs chocolate duo. And then once dessert is all finished, we can have a late midnight snack of some noodle stuff, and then go to bed a happy traveler. And that's our wonderful Lawson run for today. Thanks for watching, pals. The next day, we wished Tatiana goodbye as she headed back to Canada, and we felt artsy, so the Hakone Open Air Museum was the move. Tokyo was our next destination for the following 5 days, and we got to start off the stay with a visit to the chaotic but iconic Shibuya Scramble Crossing, which, as funny as it sounds, is definitely the coolest crosswalk I've ever been across. It was mesmerizing to see a city so bright late into the night. Then we headed back to our accommodation, which was unique because we were each staying in our own 2-meter deep capsule. Starting off our first full day in Tokyo, the three of us, with some help from some locals and Google Translate, arrived at an observation deck to get a better perspective of how big the city really is, and it is indeed huge. Next on our to-do list was some shopping in the bustling area of Harajuku. To start the night, we trekked back to the building with the observation deck to watch a fun projection mapping show. But the day wouldn't have been complete without heading to the Kabukicho district and playing some claw machines before heading back to the capsules for the night. Day 20 of the trip was filled with a visit to the Team Lab's Planets exhibit, which felt like a unique museum from the future, with everything from interactive lights to fish projections to unique gardens with levitating flowers. The following day, we visited Tokyo's Sensoji Temple, which is popular to say the least, but for good reason, as it featured magnificent architecture and art, inside and out. It was also wonderful to see so many people in beautiful kimonos everywhere. We checked out Shibuya Scramble Crossing again on the way back. All the clear umbrellas sparkled in the rain under the bright lights. The small town of Nikko was our next day trip, and we got the chance to see a World Heritage site with shrines and temples, which included many architectural and decorative masterpieces. Continuing to Kanmanga Fuji Abyss, seeing so many Jizu statues was surreal in the middle of a forest trail beside a river. Back in Tokyo after dinner, I went on a solo shoot to capture some of the lively nightlife. I found this neat restaurant under the train tracks, and since I was crouching on the ground with my camera on a tripod, some locals came by, and without instruction or hesitation, they posed for a photo. I struggled to change my camera settings quickly enough, but ended up with a shot that I think captures the inviting vibe of this city. No words were exchanged, but we both got the message and some good laughs. Since this was our last morning in Tokyo, I got up early for sunrise and ended up wandering around and exploring for about 3 hours. I wasn't entirely sure where I was going, but I was pleasantly surprised when I turned a corner and saw the Tokyo Tower. I wandered over to check it out and discovered another neat temple and more Jizu statues. After this little outing, it was a travel day, and we headed to Sendai. Once night rolled around in Sendai, the boys and I went up to an observation deck to see the city from above. And of course we had to make a quick stop at a claw machine arcade on the way back. The last day of the month was another travel day. After admiring some architecture in Sendai, the three of us headed to Hakodate, a city on Japan's northernmost island, Hokkaido.
You can see we have another traditional tatami mat room. We have our futon beds that are all nicely folded up for us that we'll unpack later. We've got a nice little mini fridge, sweet TV.
The first day of June in Hakodate was a big walking day. The group summited the 334-meter tall Mount Hakodate to get a great view of the place. From there, we enjoyed a 10K walk through the city to get to Goryokaku, a historical star-shaped garden. We got stopped by a local who was eager to chat, despite a strong language barrier. Then some more locals joined and gave us a Japanese blessing.
May Jesus bless their life from today.
After about 30,000 steps, we headed into our only night in Hakodate. Since it was our only night here, I got up for a 4 a.m. sunrise and got to watch some fishers at work before the Hakodate morning market. It was fascinating to watch how they caught and collected the fish and threw some out for the flock of birds to munch on. Then we moved on to Sapporo, the capital of Hokkaido, which is known for its beer. Interestingly, everything there seemed to also be named after the beer. Upon arrival, the city was packed with cosplayers for what appeared to be some sort of anime festival. Unfortunately, I temporarily lost my ability to operate a digital camera and only got this cinematic masterpiece. From there, we explored some green spaces and found a hidden alley which was a gem for Oishi ramen. Then Finn pulled off a magnificent claw machine win.
We're running crap. It's not supposed to do that.
Before we explored the city at night. The following day, we took a trip to the Hill of the Buddha, which has a 44-foot Buddha statue. Here's a person for reference. This was one of my favorite photo spots that I had been looking forward to. Back in Sapporo, we splurged on a Genghis Khan-style barbecued lamb dinner that we got to cook ourselves. Finally, we got some night photos of the Sapporo TV tower. As the trip was coming to an end, I got out for one last sunrise and got to watch the Sapporo TV tower turn its lights on at 5 a.m. And of course, since we were in Sapporo, we had to check out the beer museum and get some samples. From there, we flew from Sapporo back to Tokyo to catch our flight back to Canada the next day. Wowie, last night in Japan, Tokyo. Sweet! Overall, a great success of a trip across the world. Lots of memories and photos. Oh, and I forgot to mention, we also shot some scenes for our new hit show.
Blooper episode.
Alright, let's go.
Welcome back to Slide Riders. Today we'll be riding the boat slide.
Wow, would you look at that slide? Such immaculate form and so little kinetic friction. Slide riders. We ride slides. Wow, that's a wide one, but he still manages to slip that slide. Slide riders. We ride slides.